some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club.
Jay Z's career, you can look at that and say the association to Beyonce is when he started to receive the 16 17 Grammys since he's been with Beyonce. Right? And you go, prior to that, one.
I'm not part of the go along to get along gang, so to speak. So, I'm an outsider. And so, I'm not part of the club.
Beyonce and Jay Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
So it seems like 50 Cent might have landed himself in some hot water. I mean, the man has never been one to hold back, and he's been spouting off about pretty much anyone who gets on his nerves lately. He's not exactly subtle about it either. He's straight up calling people out left and right without batting an eyelash. But it looks like his boldness might have finally caught up with him, if Ice Cube's warnings are anything to go by. Word on the street is that 50 might have crossed some serious lines with none other than the Carters themselves. You know, Jay Z and Beyoncé, and we all know the kind of clout they carry. They're practically music royalty. Jay Z especially, he's not one to mess around when it comes to his and his wife's reputation. So if anyone's out there trying to smear their names, you better believe they're gonna come down hard. Now don't get me wrong, 50's no lightweight himself. The dude's a legend in the game, making major moves left and right. But compared to the Carters, well, let's just say they've got a whole different level of influence. Ice Cube sounding the alarm bells for 50, urging him to take cover before it's too late. He's been there himself, going toe-to-toe with the big shots and facing the consequences. Just look at how he's been blacklisted from mainstream platforms like Oprah and The View just for daring to speak his mind and not towing the line. I've been shut out, he said. Some platforms will not have me on. They don't like that I'm an independent thinker. I'm not part of the herd. I'm not part of the go-along-to-get-along gang, so to speak. So I'm an outsider, and so I'm not part of the club. So I have to go places, for one, where I'm welcome and where I can voice my opinion without somebody, saying I'm a bad person and that they never want to have me on their platform again.
I'm an outsider. And so, I'm not part of the club.
Yeah.
And where I can voice my opinion without somebody, saying I'm a bad person and that they never want to have me on their platform again.
Then Ice Cube got into specifics. I tried to go on The View, and they didn't have me on The View, he said. A few of the hosts just really didn't like where I was coming from. That's what I was told by the producers. I don't know if the producers was just copping out and using some of the hosts to not have me come on and explain myself. I've been on there before. It's just when I've become an independent thinker. I don't follow their brand of politics, I guess. He also said that he was excluded from OPR. I don't know what it is, he said. I had a movie called Barbershop, and I wasn't invited to participate with the cast. I produced a show called Black White, an FX reality show in which participants donned makeup to appear to be of a different race. It was a very controversial show, and once again, they had the whole cast on, but I wasn't invited.
I tried to go on The View. They didn't have me on The View.
Why?
Well, a few of the guests just really didn't like where I was coming from. You're not. But I've been excluded. I've been excluded on Oprah,
On Oprah?
On Oprah, yeah, I've been excluded.
And let's be real, 50 hasn't exactly been shy about throwing shade at Jay Z and Beyoncé. He's said some pretty rough stuff about them. For instance, back in the day, 50 accused Jay Z of buying his way into the limelight. In a spicy 2009 Rolling Stone interview, he called out Jay's self-proclaimed Jesus title as J-Hove SHT and threw some serious shade at what he saw as a king complex. Not to mention, 50 hinted that Jay had a bit of a traitor vibe, suggesting he wasn't exactly looking out for his people's best interests, especially calling out Beanie Sigel from the Rockefeller crew. 50 cranked up the heat even further by suggesting that Jay-Z's Grammy collection might have a twist in the tale. In a recent chat with XXL for their 20th anniversary issue, 50 spilled some major tea, saying, even Jay-Z's career, you can look at that and say, the association to Beyoncé is when he started to receive the 16-17 Grammys since he's been with Beyoncé. And you go, prior to that, he had one.
Jay Z's career, you can look at that and say the association to Beyonce is when he started to receive the 17 Grammys since he's been with Beyonce.
And he might be right about that one. Jay's journey didn't exactly start with a bang. His Grammy journey kicked off back in '98, scoring his first win for Best Rap Album. But things didn't really heat up until 2004 when Crazy in Love with Queen Bey brought him another shiny trophy. And now, well, he's sitting pretty with a cool 23 Grammys, sharing the hip-hop throne with none other than Kanye West for the most wins. Also, after Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami were raided by Homeland Security in connection to a SEXTFK investigation, 50 hopped on social media and asked where Jay has been. In one post, 50 shared an image of Jay's face on the side of a milk carton with "missing" written above the photo, and another picture of the Brooklyn rap legend on a red carpet waving at the cameras. "Anybody seen Jay? LOL. Puff said the man ain't answering his phone. LOL," 50 wrote in the first post. In the second, 50 said, "Here is Jay Z last reported seen waving at Puffy Jet. LOL." So it's no surprise the Carters might be feeling some type of way about 50. But here's the thing. Why would the Carters be so hell-bent on silencing anyone who tries to expose them? Well, if you believe the rumors floating around, some of the stuff people have accused them of is straight up wild. Let's start with a former bodyguard, Uncle Ron, who's gone all out on TikTok, dropping some wild allegations about the power couple. Now, who's this Uncle Ron guy, you ask? He used to be a bodyguard for a bunch of celebs, and he's making some bold claims like saying Jay Z and Beyoncé will stop at nothing to shut down anyone who crosses them.
Beyonce and Jay Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
He even dropped a bombshell about how they supposedly ended Carrie Hilson's career just because she said something they didn't like.
Beyonce, how you guys ended Carrie Hilson's career because she said something about you.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Uncle Ron's claiming their whole marriage is basically a business deal. Like they're in it for the money and the power, not for love.
Your relationship was a business relationship, financial, to get to the top, to become billionaires.
Now that might sound like total BS, but it's got people talking, especially with all the rumors swirling around about Beyonce possibly divorcing Jay Z, possibly because there's talk that Jay Z's in some hot water, possibly facing the same fate as Diddy. Basically, it sounds like Beyonce's been mentally checking out of the marriage for a minute now. Rumor has it she's been separated from Jay Z for a while, keeping a close eye on the situation.
What I've heard about them as a couple is that they've been living separate lives for a very long time. So they together, but they living separate.
The reason she hasn't pulled the trigger on announcing the divorce? Well, it seems like she's waiting to see which way the wind blows. Before, she might have held out hope that Jay Z could wiggle out of whatever mess he's in, but with Diddy's recent Homeland Security raid and him reportedly singing like a canary, Beyonce's not taking any chances. Looks like she's ready to bolt at the first sign of trouble. Word on the street is that Jay Z's been sweating bullets ever since the Feds started poking around Diddy's business. Apparently, they've been tight buds for ages, and they haven't exactly kept their friendship under wraps. But according to those in the know, their bond runs deeper than just being music industry big shots. Allegedly, they've been connecting over some seriously shady stuff, particularly involving violence against women. It's a dark side of their friendship that's been lurking in the shadows for years, and they've somehow managed to dodge any real consequences. Or at least that's what everyone thought. See, as it turns out, the Feds have been looking at them for long, and they have been looking at them hard for a very long time. If there's one thing about the Feds, they never make their moves until they've got their facts right, and they have managed to build an airtight case against their suspects with no wriggle room. It often takes months or years for the Feds to build their case, but once they arrest someone and bring charges against them, then it's over. They have a conviction rate of more than 95%, and that should tell you all that the Feds don't play when they make a move on a suspect. And in Diddy's case, the Feds have been looking at him for at least 11 years now, because back in 2013, we found out they've been questioning people about Diddy's alleged interest in young boys. A court document from a case in 2013 noted that during a debriefing session with federal investigators, James Roseman, the music manager turned Kingpin, was reportedly questioned about the sex preferences of entertainers, including whether Sean Diddy Combs was having sex relationships with underage boys, according to a U.S. District Court filing. A prosecutor then asked about entertainers' EX preferences, including, but not only, Sean Combs having sex relationships with underage boys. So, if they have been looking at Diddy for that long, then best believe they've been looking at Jay Z for that long as well. And it did not just start with because of Cassie's lawsuit. Interestingly, the knowledge of Jay Z going down with Diddy is not just fan speculations, because people with reliable intel have claimed there is allegedly also an open investigation of Jay Z by the feds. And as you all have probably heard, Diddy got busted by Homeland Security a couple weeks ago, which tells us the investigation into Diddy is at its peak, and supposedly so is Jay Z. What most of you don't know is that Jay came under a lot of heat a couple years ago when he was exposed for forcing Foxy Brown, who was just 15 years old at the time, into a relationship with him in exchange for her career.
Allegedly a romantical thing. It's all right, I'll say alleged, but we know. Yeah, she hit it before Beyonce.
Sources claim Jay paid Foxy a ton of money to keep this a secret, and this was later confirmed by Jay's longtime friend and ex-business partner, Dame Dash, who got super defensive when he was asked about Jay and Foxy's affair.
At what age was Foxy Brown signed?
You know, I wasn't paying attention to Foxy Brown.
Yeah, but that's...
I didn't sign Foxy Brown.
I know
Stop
you
putting
I'm
me
just
in that.
asking a
You keep asking
question.
'cause I'm on
Seems
these
like you got-
it seems like you got a question for Jay. Ask him. Don't ask me his questions, bro. I'm not taking it.
I'm not just... Okay.
Y'all can keep asking
We're
questions.
moving on.
Y'all keep asking me questions y'all want to ask him because he ain't here.
The buzz that's been floating around for ages about Jay Z allegedly starting to groom Foxy Brown when she was just 14. Yeah, you heard it right. Supposedly they ended up getting involved when she was 15 and he was a 24-year-old dude. And here's the kicker. Jay Z eventually decided to address these rumors in one of his songs, Picasso Baby, where he said, "I never stuck my C in the Fox's box, but damn if I ain't open up Pandora's box. They try to slander your man on CNN and Fox. But my Mirandas don't stand a chance for cops. Even my old fans like, old man, just stop." And turns out Foxy wasn't too thrilled about it. She'd been telling Jay to let the rumors slide, and in an interview, she spilled the beans, saying she was definitely shocked when he dropped that line. According to Foxy, they had a history beyond just music, and they used to laugh off those rumors. But here's the twist. Foxy felt the need to talk about that embarrassing line when she was basically a kid back then. She mentioned feeling the heat from people talking about her age, and she thinks that's why Jay decided to address it. She said, "Was I shocked when Jay said the line in Picasso Baby? Yes, because we've talked about that. We have a history that supersedes music. We know how this business works. We sit back and we laugh at those rumors. We laugh at that." I think he began to feel the pressure because people began to say my age, the age thing. She was 15, 14. After a while, that gets to a person. The fact that he felt he needed to say that means something struck a chord. People couldn't help but to point out just how similar this is to what Diddy did to Cassie. He started dating her when she was just 19 years old and promised her a career in Hollywood, only for him to completely mess up and blackball her career. But Dame wasn't done yet. He went on to spill some more tea about Jay's very weird obsession with younger girls. He said he made the decision to stop messing with Jay Z when he realized he had no plans of distancing himself from R. Kelly, even after R. Kelly was exposed for being a predator. Now at that time, R. Kelly was just exposed for lying about Alaya's age and marrying her when she was just 15 years old. Now you would think that Jay would stop associating with him after he found this out, but of course he didn't. He actually showed his support for R. Kelly by releasing a joint album with him called The Best of Both Worlds. Dame also said Jay wanted to get into a relationship with Aaliyah and even began sending her flowers and inviting her to his infamous parties, but she kept saying no to his advances.
I guess Jay was trying to get at her as well, and I didn't know. He was sending flowers and he was courting her.
Because the rumor originally was that you were connected to Jay. Exactly. Jay and I were hanging out a lot. He's my homie. We have a lot of fun together, but we never dated like that.
So Jaguar Wright thought it was all kinds of weird and couldn't figure out how Jay Z was cool with getting involved with R. Kelly. I mean, looking back, Jay Z seemed totally fine with R. Kelly being with a minor, even marrying her. Makes you question his morals, right?
And he was working with R. Kelly and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all of those records together. They both f***ed Aaliyah. They shared so much in common.
When R. Kelly got hit with those terrible charges, Jay Z tried to act like they were never buddies. But let's be real. Considering Jay Z was also accused of allegedly getting involved with an underage Foxy Brown, he wasn't exactly in a spot to throw stones. Also, Jay Z's intense longing for Aaliyah messed up his bromance with Dame. People thought it was all about egos, but Dame spills it, saying Jay Z couldn't handle that Aaliyah was feeling him, not Jay Z. Picture this. Aaliyah, the ultimate catch, had a bunch of Hollywood guys shooting their shots. Jay Z and Dame were in the mix. Their friendship was already on shaky ground, but things went crazy when they both decided to go after the same girl. It was a total mess. They were in this wild competition, trying to grab Alaya's attention, all while knowing others were in the same game. So, two buddies, going head-to-head over the same girl? You know that's a recipe for disaster. Jealousy kicked in real quick, especially since Aaliyah was playing the field, going on dates with both of them. But Aaliyah started leaning more towards Dame, and Jay Z wasn't vibing with that. Now, we all know Jay Z doesn't take L's lightly. Things hit rock bottom when Aaliyah and Dame took things to the next level, and Jay Z found out at a 4th of July bash they all attended. Jaguar Wright spilled the tea, backing up Dame's story. Allegedly, Jay Z got his revenge game strong by wrecking Dame's business and selling him out, all because Dame got the girl. Anyway, Jay Z shifted his focus from Aaliyah to Beyonce, aiming to be part of Hollywood's ultimate power couple. Problem was, for that dream to happen, he needed Beyonce to be the top lady in Hollywood. Now, don't get me wrong, Beyonce was destined for greatness with or without Jay Z. I mean, have you seen her? She's a legit talent, levels above everyone else. But rewind to when they first crossed paths. Beyonce had just stepped out of Destiny's Child and was hustling to make her mark. Meanwhile, Aaliyah was already carving out her own lane, ready to conquer the world. But then tragedy struck, and Aaliyah left a void at the top. According to Jaguar Wright, that wasn't just a coincidence. It paved the way for Beyonce to step into the spotlight. But here's the interesting thing. There's some talk that Aaliyah's passing might not have been a freak accident, but a well-orchestrated plan. Aaliyah was all set for a music video shoot in Florida when suddenly, out of the blue, the director Hype Williams decided to switch it up and move the whole gig to the Bahamas. Weird move, right? Everything was good to go in Florida, and folks were already in the shoot groove. They wrapped up the shoot ahead of schedule. But here's the kicker. No plane back to the US. Enter Lenny Kravitz, offering his private jet, but Hype Williams nixed that idea, insisting he had another plane lined up. Surprise, surprise, when the replacement plane arrived, it was like a clown car, too small for the crew and gear. Now, here's the twist. Reports spilled the beans that Aaliyah wasn't feeling it. She refused to board that plane, sensing something was off. So, here's the deal according to the New York Post. After Aaliyah raised her red flags about the sketchy plane situation, her crew decided to pull a move. They slipped her a sleeping pill, and she knocked out cold. Next thing she knows, she's being carried onto this overloaded plane without a clue. Oh, and to add more chaos to the mix, the pilot was apparently riding the wave. Long story short, disaster struck a few minutes after takeoff, and the plane crashed, ending in tragedy for everyone on board. Now, in the industry, there's a bunch of folks saying there's more to Aaliyah's passing than what's on the surface. Mary J. Blige straight up said she thinks it was a spiritual one at that, because according to her, God doesn't do people like that. And there's also Tierra Marie. Before she was on Love and Hip Hop, she was in the mix at Def Jam with Jay Z. He was all about her, calling her the princess of the label and the first lady of the rock. Fast forward to the night of her prom, he does a 180 and drops her from the label with zero explanation. Jay Z told Tierra Marie she was getting the boot from Def Jam because her debut album didn't do well, right? But the numbers don't add up. Her album sold 69,000 copies, hit number 5 on the Billboard 200, and snagged the 2nd spot on the R&B and hip-hop albums chart. That's not bad for a debut, but Jay Z's playing it off like it's a major flop, giving her the boot with no clear explanation. Now here's the twist. Rihanna drops her debut a couple of weeks later, also selling 69,000 copies, but her album charts lower at number 10. Now by the logic Jay Z used with Tierra, Rihanna should have been in the same boat, right? But no, Rihanna's still standing. Why? Well, according to the rumors, the not-so-secret sauce is that Jay Z was supposedly getting cozy with Tierra at the time, even though she was still in high school. Also, a blind item spills the beans that L.A. Reid allegedly got in the mix first, hooked up with Tierra, then supposedly passed her to Ray J, who in turn passed her along to Jay. Yeah, it's all kinds of messed up, especially considering she was a minor at the time. Hold on, there's more. Ray J and Tierra went public in 2006, right after Jay Z dropped her. She was 18 and he was 25, but rumors were floating around that their thing started way before she hit legal age. Now here's where Jay Z's story starts to crumble. If her first album was such a train wreck that he was ready to boot her, why on earth was she working on a second album? Well, according to the blind item, the real reason Jay Z dropped her wasn't about album stats. It was because Ray J wanted Tierra all to himself and got jealous that Jay Z was in the mix. Rumor also has it Beyonce caught wind of the affair and put her foot down, demanding Jay Z cut ties with Tierra completely. Now Jay Z Jay-Z's solution wasn't just dropping Tierra from Def Jam. He went all out and blacklisted her from the industry, making sure nobody would give her a shot. No wonder Tierra's career tanked after leaving Def Jam. It's a head-scratcher because she had the talent, no doubt. Her debut album even hit the top 5 on the Billboard Hot 200. But according to L.A. Reid, Beyoncé played a big role in the label shifting attention to Rihanna and giving Tierra the boot. Reid said, "We had an in-house company showcase and Beyoncé happened to be there with Jay Z, Tierra Marie, Rihanna. A 4-girl group called Black Butterfly and Neo performed. At the label, we thought Tierra Marie would be a big star. We spent more time on her, did more work on her, paid more attention to her. A bell went off for me, however, when after the showcase, Beyoncé came up to me and said, 'That Rihanna girl, she's a
And the truth is I was paying a little more attention to her than I was to Rihanna. After the showcase, you know, Beyonce just gave me one of those looks and he said, "That Rihanna girl, she's a." And she looked away, right? And I was like...
Now, we're not about to throw shade at Queen Bee, but let's dive into this. Beyoncé was already the bigwig in Hollywood at the time, so her words held major sway. She had to know dropping a comment like that would steer L.A. Reid's ship. Props to her, though. She played the game so smoothly that L.A. Reid didn't even clock he was being played. We all thought she was just giving her man Jay Z's artist Rihanna a boost, because Jay Z personally signed her to Def Jam. Turns out the real deal was she was trying to clear the field for her man by taking out the competition. Allegedly, of course. Now, knowing 50, we all know there's no way any amount of threats is gonna shut him up, and honestly, we're kinda here for it. But drop your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll catch you in the next video.